Welcome to this episode of Vistage Top Floor. My guest today is Mustafa Al-Adhami, PhD. He is the CEO of Aztec Diagnostics, a biotechnology company in the final development stages of a 1-hour UTI detection and antibiotic sensitivity indicator. Welcome, Mustafa. Mustafa, thank you so much for having, made time for us today. I want to dig right in and ask you, tell me about Aztec. Tell me what it is, what you do, and what was your inspiration for this company?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Again, I'm Mustafa. I'm the CEO and founder of Astek Diagnostics, and I am originally from Iraq. I was a refugee for about 5 years, and then I got lucky and I started a PhD here in the U.S. And around the time I was graduating, I really thought I wanted to be a professor, so I had a job lined up, and that was around like April 2021, I would say. But my grandfather was not feeling too well, and I went to Iraq to help, with his care. He had a urinary tract infection. It took doctors 3 different antibiotics and 4 days to get the culture back, just to tell him what antibiotic he should be taking. And in the meantime, he was in pain, he was delirious, and he ended up falling. He couldn't find his glasses, and he just fell and broke his hip. Um, and I feel like I watched him go from a young 87-year-old to a much, much older one within days. And so that's when I decided that, maybe that's what I should be doing. And that's when I founded Aztec Diagnostics on May 27th, 2021. So at Aztec, we're developing a 1-hour antibiotic sensitivity test. So directly from patient sample, we'll tell physicians whether the patient has an infection, like a bacterial infection, and then what the best antibiotic to treat the patient with. And of course, we call our device the Jiddu. Jiddu is what I call my grandfather. So it's really, we're building this for him, and hopefully many, many people will be benefiting from it very soon.
That is such an inspirational story, and I love that you connected your family experience and you've taken that experience and now you've turned it into something that can benefit thousands, thousands and thousands of people. Very.
Absolutely. And you know what they say? They say, like, when you try and start a company, you don't find a problem, the problem finds you. And I feel like I'm the prime example of that. I was not thinking about UTI or anything like that when my grandfather got sick.
What is your PhD in?
Mechanical engineering.
That fits very well. So now you're doing biomechanical engineering in essence. So.
I guess in a way, yeah. I did lots of microfluidics, so my definitely my PhD translated very well into my job now.
And that whole critical thinking, Socratic process of asking questions and finding new answers and going in different directions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like the whole idea was, if a human is alive if they're breathing, right? And my thought was like, why don't we do the same thing for bacteria? If you put in the right antibiotic and the bacteria stops breathing, well, you killed it, so the antibiotic is working.
Very interesting. So who do you consider a potential role model for success? Is there anyone that comes to mind?
Like in the business world or just like in general?
You tell me. When I say a role model for success, what comes to mind?
Well, so anyone that was able to solve like a hard problem, something technically deep, and decided to take on that challenge, like I think of startups like Irion. Have you heard of them? Like the fission nuclear reactions. I mean, that's like such a sci-fi thing that they make it work. And even like we're all using Chat GPT, and like that was not supposed to work, but these guys decided to take on the challenge and made it work. I mean, from a paper in 2017 that Google abandoned, they made a $80 billion company, So all of these guys really I look up to them, and I wish to be like them one day.
So you've had this company basically since 21. Was that
Yeah,
when it
three
was?
years. 3
Yeah,
years.
3 years. So in your vast 3 years with this company, what is your biggest learning to date as a leader? What is something that maybe surprised you or an area where you know that you've grown having stepped up to
Yeah.
this challenge?
Well, as a leader, I learned that I am not a good leader, and all I could do is work very hard so I could lead by example. Um, there is also no cookie cutter solution. So I remember the first ever pitch that I did. The investor looked at me and said, "You don't have any experience. How are you going to run a company?" And so I went and I read over 200 books, literally 200 business books. If I'm awake, I am learning some business stuff. And there's no way, like there's no one way for things to succeed. And I guess that's the biggest uh thing that I learned so far.
200 business books. That I think that's more than maybe I've read, and I teach MBA courses. So any one particular author that calls to you more than the other, someone that the way they write or the way they inspire really calls to you?
Um, well, I like Shoe Dog. I don't know if you've read Shoe Dog. Phil Knight. That was a really good book. Predictably Irrational was nice. Thinking Fast and Slow was definitely one of the hardest books, but one of the ones that I really, really enjoyed. Um, I read The Innovator's Dilemma. It's like the list is very, very long. And Surrounded by Idiots. Have you read that one?
I have not.
Oh, it's so much fun. They categorize people in like different colors. So like, so like with every person that you hired, like a little bit, well, of them like what words to choose when you talk to them, and like to keep them inspired. Like some people like schedule, some people like firm tasks, and others no. You need to just motivate them, tell them about like the big picture, and that's how to motivate them. It's such an interesting book. Um, that really I try to use on daily basis, and yeah.
That sounds very much like they're using situational leadership.
I would say so. I would say so. Absolutely.
Fantastic. How many people are working for you now in the company?
We're 8 full-time, and then I think total would be around 18, including the part-time stuff. Yeah. We also have 6 full-timers with our R&D partner. So it's a big R&D firm. So within that firm, we also have 6.
That's actually quite a few for 3 years into the process.
Oh,
How long,
absolutely.
how long before you think you will be at launch for this testing process?
Yeah. So we're 1 year to FDA submission.
Okay.
So in the last 3 years, we were able to build like from a sketch. We still have that sketch on a whiteboard actually. We were able to build an alpha prototype. This is the first version of the product, and we deployed this alpha prototype into different hospitals. And very recently, one of the hospitals published 2 independent studies saying that this is working and this is going to change how things are run in hospitals. Um, yeah, so from here we're finalizing a larger raise, and then by November we're going to have the actual product that we take to market. So we could run clinical trials in Q1 and submit to the FDA by Q2 of next year. We've been very aggressive this whole time. We've been ahead of every single milestone, which, I'm very proud of the execution that we were able to do.
It sounds like you are on the fast track.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm getting older, and I was like, you know what? Go all the way in, or not at all.
You, you have to keep your audience in mind when you say you're getting older, recognize that most of us are probably a lot older than you are already. So
Well, but it's all relative. Like, I'm not even kidding. I went to sleep one time and I was 25. When I woke up, I was 35. I was like, how did this happen?
I
That's
agree.
that's what I mean.
I agree. Wait till you wake up. I'm not there yet, but I'm close. Wait till you wake up and you're 65. I'm very close to that. It's like, how did that happen? Where did it go? Normally, I ask this question with a later number, but I'm going to change this a little bit. I usually ask, think back to your 18-year-old self, but I'm going to say, think back to your 12, 13-year-old Mustafa. What
Yeah.
advice would you give him now? If you could go back, what advice would you give him?
I'd be like, why did you stop coding? You were so good at coding. Why did you stop? Like, soccer is fun, but you could not make money with soccer. Like, that's exactly what I would say. Because like at like 9 years old, I was like programming video games. And then I just stopped and started playing sports. I was like, what?
So when did you go back to it, or why didn't you go back to it?
Oh, I did. I did. So at
Okay.
18 years old, I went back to it. When I was a refugee, I needed to make money somehow. So um, I did translation. So I would get some recordings in Iraqi, Arabic, and I would move it to English. And because I was busy with school, I built a software that did majority of the work for me and ended up selling that software. And that's how I made my way to the US. It was that $38,000 that I used for my first semester PhD. And then luckily I got a scholarship.
Any particular person inspire you more so than others?
Um, like my mom really inspires me because she's a scientist. Um, and like really she went through a lot. Like I lost my dad when I was 15 years old, and she had a brain tumor like 2 weeks later. And just seeing like literally from the hospital, yeah. So before her hair even grew back, she was back at work just because we were like three kids, and she had to like. So that was very inspirational. Like her sacrifice really motivated me. Because in my mind, I was like, I cannot make mistakes. She worked too hard for me to mess this up. So that's from like the personal um side of things. And anyone that has ever built a rocket as well, I think they're pretty cool because it's such a risky business, and anything that's out there is like such a mystery in my mind. So I like that as well.
That's a very small pool, those that have built rockets. So,
Absolutely, absolutely, but it's like so crazy.
so it sounds like resiliency is what your mom has provided in terms of inspiration. And if mom is listening now, I hope she hears this, that how she inspired you to be resilient.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So we applied for her visa 4 years ago, and she arrived in the US last week. So I'm very, very happy that she's finally here.
Let's give a shout out. What's your mom's name?
Her name is Lemia.
Lemia. You've done well, Lemia. What an impressive young man you have.
Oh, thank you.
What else do you think others need to know about Aztec Diagnostics?
Um, so the problem is we made it very personal, and that's how we were able to go very fast. And trust me, when we're done on this, when it's in the market, things will never be the same. I mean, there's going to be much less pain. There's going to be way less complications. I'm very excited to the day that we're actually put this device in physicians' hands and just see it out there. I can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to be
Any
a bit.
fear that some competitor is going to slip in before you?
No, no. The process that we built is so simple. Everyone is like complicating it. We made something very simple. That's why it's hard to compete. And honestly, if someone else solves it, the problem that I wanted to solve, someone did my work for me. Um, we've been raising money, and every round we raise, people say like, "Don't you worry about dilution? Like, how much do you have left in the company?" I was like, "I don't care. I don't want to make any money. I just want this out there." Again, it's personal, really. So, yeah.
I love that. What if I not ask you either about yourself, your development, or your company that
Mhm.
you feel I should have asked? What do we else do we need to know?
The company is exactly the same age as my son. So that's, I guess, one thing that that you need to know.
That
But
again, that's resiliency, raising a child and starting a company at the same time. That's a lot.
absolutely. But no, like on a serious note, like I am disappointed that we always talk about this, technological advancement, and we're always very proud of everything. And we have smartphones and whatever and communication, and no one has found a solution to improve on urine cultures or blood cultures. I mean, it's been over 50 years and we just have the same technology. You know, and when I was in Iraq and even later as a refugee, we always thought like we have this, but America probably has something better. So when I came to America and it's the same stuff, I'm like, wait, hold on a minute. Yeah, and when we had issues like, well, the West is gonna solve it. But then when I came here, I realized, I am part of the West now, so maybe I solve it. So it's really it's disappointing that we have not been able to improve on that, while everything else is progressing rapidly.
It's that idea of leapfrogging. And there was a business book out a couple decades ago called Leapfrogging, and it's jumping over where we are technologically. And so you're hoping to take a giant leap forward from something that sounds like it's been pretty static over the.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there are cool technologies that people are coming up with. It's just I feel like it's always like it's parallel to what we're trying to get, but like not exactly what we're trying to do. And honestly, it's just our solution is very easy, very simple. And I think that's why we have the edge.
So if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to find out more about what you're doing?
Um, well, my LinkedIn, I'm usually very responsive to LinkedIn messages, as long as they're not to sell me something that I don't need. Uh, so
That's a given.
Mustafa, yeah, Mustafa Al-Adhami, that would be the easiest way to reach out to me. And generally, when people reach out with something that I'm interested in, or it's like you need advice or just want to chat, I just share with them my Calendly, and they pick a time, and we talk for a half hour.
Thank you so much. I have enjoyed getting to know more about you and more
Thank
about your company.
you as well.
And I'm sure we will talk again.
Absolutely.